fiveanddimeeaston.com. They have their website officially up. You can shop most of their stuff online. They also have Fucked. They have Fucked in the store. I think they're the only one allowed to sell Fucked out of their store. It's 484-544-4719. That's at Five and Dime Easton on social media. These guys are great. I mean, they're killing it. It's the best skate shop, in my opinion, in the area. They have a lot of cool stuff there. Both the owners are rad. I stop in when I can. They're open Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sunday, 11 to 5. There is someone always there to help you out with your needs. You can check their inventory off the website. You can check out some videos they got on there, and they're doing some cool things. Their social media is awesome. They support a lot of local skaters in the area, and they're growing. I'm excited to be a part of them growing. I'm excited to help them out. They're helping me out. It's a good relationship, and I push Five and Dime Easton because they're the best skate shop in the area. Check them out. BTG Blasting. My man, Pat Cunningham, offering you pressure washing, disinfecting, acid washing, and rust removal. It is a high pressure washing business, bringing your stuff back to glory. He does anything from houses all the way to having him come into the studio. He comes down to the studio on a schedule and he disinfects the studio, and we are certifiably clean, and it just covers all the bases. So with the things that are going on now, you're going to need somebody like this. He's got a sticker out front. I am certifiably clean down here. He also offers free estimates on all your needs. He can do corporate and at home. You can reach him at 484-241-1711 and btgblasting@gmail.com. He just started this business and it is taking off. I'm super excited for him, and I'm super excited that he's a sponsor of the show. And you can check out BTG Blasting on social media for all of your pressure washing, disinfecting, acid wash, and rust removal needs. It's high pressure washing, bringing your stuff back to glory. He offers many things, and you need to check him out. Eric K. Dowdle, defense attorney. We had him on the show, and what crazy stories this guy's had. He's helped a ton of people over the years. And if you're looking for help, he is your guy. You can contact them at 610-882-3000, and it's ekdefense.com. Do you have a pending court case? Do you have a court appearance and need a defense lawyer? Do you need proper representation? Felony, misdemeanor, drug offense, assault, homicide, DUI, traffic violation, appeals. Reach out to Eric. Check out the podcast we did with him as well. It has his whole story on there. If you need help, Eric is here to help you. He sponsors the show. We appreciate it. He's going to be doing a monthly thing with us. Eric will be a part of the family now. Thank you for sponsoring. Never Again Radio. This is probably episode 40 by the time it comes out. How's it sound over there, Tucker? This is the episode with Tucker Rouse on the 1-2s. Good job, bud. This is a lot of help. I appreciate it. If he wasn't here, I would have to sit there and then run the switcher and do everything else you were seeing, plus try and do an interview.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing. Yeah.
How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to think of the last time we even saw each other. Might have been the convention.
I feel like that was probably it, yeah.
And that was probably like, I think the last two. Or no, maybe I got tattooed after that, and then you moved the shop.
Yeah, I think I saw you at Scranton. And then, because I didn't do like the last three industries.
Same.
So I feel like it was Scranton, and then you got tattooed, and I moved the shop or something like that.
Yeah. I keep forgetting Scranton too.
Yeah.
Because you would still do that one.
Yeah.
How the hell did we even meet? Who hooked us up?
Who did? I think that was Brent A1.
Yeah. I thought it was through the lines of Joel, through something in there.
Could have been that too.
Yeah.
Which I met Brent through.
Yeah.
That whole circuit thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
What the hell you been up to, man?
Working.
Moved your shop?
Yeah. Up to Slatington. Beautiful downtown Slatington.
I just started getting into Slatington, and we were talking about going and treasure hunting. They have that dirt mall across the bridge. Because Matt from Axelrad lives in that house right on the corner there, right next to the railroad track. So I go there to pick up apparel, and, like for local deliveries.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize what was down over that bridge because I never go that way. And then we went to the dirt mall and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is Slatington?
Yeah. It's a good little spot.
They have some fantastic treasure troves in there.
I'm up there frequently.
What I wanted to get into this during the show, but we have a common interest with velvet paintings.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, where did you get into the velvet paintings?
I had seen that in my Nana's house growing up. They always had like real gaudy stuff in the living room, like a wall where you'd have a 2-foot rip of like gold speckled mirror.
Yes.
Like floor to ceiling, and then a rip of like red velvet, and then mirror and velvet, all the way down to like the dining room wall or whatever.
Yeah.
Velvet paintings, oil lamps, all that stuff. So it made me remember that stuff, and then going antiquing and stuff and finding them, I just started scooping them up.
Now we were going over which ones. I have a collie upstairs. I have the panther. I have the tiger. I have this horse now. I saw a matador. Have you seen those? Where there's ones with just a bull, and then there's ones of like there's both, and then I think there's like a Slade bull.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was talking to Obscure Antiques, who's coming on the podcast. He said a lot of this velvet stuff comes straight out of Mexico.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like a popular thing.
Yeah, I would believe that. Growing up, I grew up in Southern California.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you'd have people off of the side of the freeway, like you get off the freeway and they're selling oranges and all that. Well, same thing, beanbag chairs and always velvet paintings.
Like how around here it's the guys at the gas station selling tiger rugs.
Yeah.
I've always wanted those.
Same deal, just out in front of like the best parking lot or whatever. And then you'd be like, oh, here's all these velvet paintings.
They're dope. And we were saying even the artist changes. The art's always different, but the frame's exactly the same. Do you think it's just a massive frame shop and they're dope frames because I've never seen the frames by themselves.
No, they come with a velvet painting in them.
But I love anyone who I talk to about the velvet paintings because if they're into them, you're either into them or you're not into them. But everyone who's into them, like the antiques guy was showing me different stuff where he had one where it was like there's like a devil on it, like sitting over a toilet. Like there's some they get into some weird shit. And then he had another one that was like super unicorn.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're like if people are taking the frames and doing their own version of that style art, or if there's really that weird as shit coming out of, because I mean, you really only see the same stuff. It's just kind of like the matadors, the animals. Like to me, it's so odd that horse is done, but there is a lot of horses too.
Yeah, I think maybe somewhere along the line there was like velvet painting kits you could order.
You know what I mean?
And they send you the frame and the whole thing, and then because some of them can't be like. Some of the ones that I have and I've seen, it can't be like mass-produced ones. They look like somebody's aunt tried.
Do you think you could pull off one?
I don't know, possibly. I mean, I'm sure I could put a painting on a canvas like that, on a velvet canvas.
We should do something.
As far as whether it would look like that or not is different.
Yeah. How'd you get into art?
I don't know. Just as a little kid, I used to always draw. Yeah. My dad would draw. My dad was a real big, he was a car guy growing up. So he would draw cars all the time and shit, so probably from him. Yeah. When did it come over from a hobby into something where you were like, did you hang out in tattoo shops? How did you get into tattooing? I was getting tattooed by Mike Ireton way back at Foundation Tattoo in the late 90s, and a friend of mine, Danny, had apprenticed for him and was tattooing down there. My cousin had apprenticed for him and was tattooing down there, and he just kind of like pulled me into it one afternoon, and that was that. Yeah.
How old were you?
I think I was 20, and then I started tattooing at 20, probably like 22. I was tattooing. Yeah.
Were you doing art in high school, just like constantly?
Yeah. Just drawing the desk. Graffiti was a big part of it. So sketchbooks, graffiti, and that was primarily high school. Do
you remember your very first tattoo? What it was?
Yeah, it was a sweet tribal sun.
Were you nervous?
No, I wasn't nervous. I was excited that it was going to happen.
How long did The Apprentice go for? Because I brought Millisec in, and like we were going over, like, he did it way back in the day when like the apprenticeship was still like a hardcore, like shop bitch, like that kind of style. Did you have to go up through that?
Not so much of that. I had kind of a unconventional apprenticeship, really. I started apprenticing for Mike I was with him for like 6 months. He was going to be moving his shop and opening up. He ended up moving his shop, but time had passed in between. This guy, Harry, opened up in the space that we used to be in. My friend Danny had then started working for him, and Harry pulled me over, and I finished off with him.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of like a crash course thing. I was up and running with Harry in probably less than 6 months.
And you weren't nervous about doing it? You were just like, this is what I'm doing?
You're young and you're pretty overconfident. So
yeah.
It was just kind of
that's true.
Rush into it.
I always forget, I was telling somebody the other day, like, my mindset at 40 as opposed to what it was at 20, and how drastically different.
Yeah. Your approach is not the same.
No, not at all. I don't think I would have wanted to run this business or to do, like, I'm glad I did the dumb things I did in my 20s, but the things that I want to do now, I'm glad I'm not doing them in my 20s.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so much more room for mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How long were you tattooing for before you started doing your own thing?
I was with Harry for maybe 2 years. He sold the shop to somebody. I worked for that guy for a year, and then Mike Ireton and I opened up a shop in Easton, so I co-owned with him.
What shop was that?
Full Throttle.
Yeah.
It was in the old Vampire Den from, I guess that was like pre-Pleasure and Pain. I didn't live here for the beginning of all that, so from my understanding, before Pleasure and Pain, you had the Vampire Den. I guess Tom worked with this guy Mark, and on and on and on. We ended up moving into that old shop, renovating that. We were up there for probably 5 years, and then I went back to Allentown.
Were you just primarily tattooing 100%, or were you working part-time, or
no,
you just went all in?
Once I started learning how to tattoo, I didn't hold a regular job at all. That was all into that. Now, I would plaster. I'm a plasterer by trade as well. So I would do that with my old man in the summertime and stuff like that. That always was kind of like there. So if there was anything close to that, it would be plastering.
What does that entail?
Plastering, old interior plaster, white coat, hard coat, stucco, drive it, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you like doing that in the summer?
I used to hate it, but now I like it.
It's a skill set you learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at all the stuff that I did growing up, even cleaning. Like, I cleaned professionally.
Okay.
And then, like, now it's like when I go to clean stuff, or if like a gal's coming over, I can like thoroughly do a job. And then I'm like, oh, like all this stuff that I hated growing up, or not so much that I hated, because I sometimes, like, I did tree work with a friend of mine.
Okay.
But it wasn't really like work, and it was, it was ball breaking work, but I was with a best friend dicking around all day.
Right.
Same with cleaning, but I look back on it and it's like, I have these skill sets that I now apply older. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I did that. That was a nightmare.
Sure.
But I'm glad.
Yeah. You're able to get in there and get it done.
Yeah. When did you start running your own shit then?
100% on my own when I moved out to Slatington. Yeah, so 4 years ago. I'm in the 5th year of being up there now.
Yeah. Who like when you started out tattooing on your own, and were kind of out of your apprenticeship, like, how long did it take to kind of find your style?
I kind of started doing that right away. Like, when I started tattooing, I knew what I wanted these tattoos to look like. So I shouldn't say I started doing that. I started trying that right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was kind of right out of the gate. I'd always try to push to make it look the way I wanted it to look or whatever. But working for Harry, his thing was like, you should be able to do whatever comes in the door. So you can't always try to like pull that into an area you want to be in. You have to, what is it they want?
That's kind of, that would be like a huge thing to learn to do, because now it's like you have your way of doing it, but you're also hitting exactly what the customer wants, and then it's going to open you up to being able to do way more tattoos and to kind of open your I guess you could kind of compare it to cooking, where if you start cooking a different way, but then eventually you take learning how to do that and then add a little bit of that into what you want to do, but then in the end you're an all-around all-around skill instead of just kind of focusing on one thing.
Well versed.
Yeah.
So that's the goal anyway. You know what I mean? So, but now anymore, I don't pay too much attention to. I don't have a preference in what style I work in or whatever. I just try to.
Yeah. Well, you've really developed, like, in my opinion, a unique tattooing style. I think it stands out from other things that I look at. And I don't know if it was Mary or one of the first tattoos that I really saw up close. And then I think she told me, she's like, oh, my tattoo artist. And then I think we might have even known each other, but I didn't know you were tattooing her. But I feel your style. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
How did you develop that? Was that from the style you were drawing mixed with the graffiti? And like, I know how it, like where it comes from, but it's hard to pinpoint how you turned it into it.
I don't think I really ever consciously.
It's just how you did it.
Any of that.
Yeah. It's just it's how your style is.
That's how it comes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
and
rad.
A lot of times I'll try to stick to a script or a game plan or whatever, but somewhere in there I'm gonna just end up
make it you.
This happened and then that happened and, and whatever. So maybe that's part of it, or just let it be unconscious.
It's dope. I think it was her hands.
Okay.
I think that might have been what I saw. How much have you done on her?
I did her right arm, with the exception of maybe 2 pieces of that. Her left arm, with the exception of a few pieces. Her leg. So I've done quite a bit on Mary. We got a big piece on her back. She's got her ribs done, and
yeah. She's got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
What's it been like being at your own shop now? 100% you. Are you the only one working there? You got other people in there?
I have
kind of take us through the process of even getting your own shop. What made you decide to move to Slatington and leave the area? And
I was just kind of burnt out on Allentown, and I was burned out on just how co-owning shops is a lot different. Yeah, it's like one of those things where you got too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Yeah,
whatever, and trying to get everybody on the same page for years. I just kind of got tired of that, so I got out of town a little bit. I saw an opening. I was like, from Whitehall to, I don't know, Wilkes-Barre. There wasn't too much in the way of like a good option for a tattoo shop, so I figured I'd just go where nothing survives and try that.
Well, when you first were talking about doing it and then going through that area and coming around that area, what a very unique place to just go hide and get the hell away from everyone.
Yeah, it works though. It's a great
because it's like almost like right outside the coal region and like before the mountains. And I mean, well, first of all, the ride over there, when I go the back way from here, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just a quiet, I'm sure it's like any other town, like this small town, you know, you got your crap here, but you're not really affected by anything. Like everything that went on, riots, coronavirus, everything. Like I remember saying to his dad was just like, I've never been happier to be in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, where nothing was affected at all.
Yeah. I think we had one lone protester. He rode his motorcycle down the street like 5 miles an hour. And
it's small,
flying a flag.
But I mean, you have such a following, and like your client base. I'm sure most of them just went with you.
Yeah, that just kind of became clear in my head. Was like, well, instead of going to this address, you're just going to go to that address.
Yeah, it's not that much further. No. I mean, if you're not in Allentown, Allentown's far.
Right.
And if you're here, I believe Slatington's closer than Allentown.
It probably is, because you save a lot of time on them back roads.
I love the back roads.
It took me about a half hour to get here.
Yeah, that's closer.
I mean? And I stopped for gas, so no big deal.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So when you kind of like were burned out, were you still deciding to tattoo at that point, or you just needed a break and just get the hell out and do your own thing and find a quiet little shop? And if your clients move with you, all you got to do is worry about rent, which is nothing because you're in a town where there's probably a for rent sign every other building.
Right.
You have your lot of picking the biggest place to spend half the money you would have in Allentown, and you could just do whatever you want.
Pretty much.
How the hell did you come up with the idea to even? I know that like when you're kind of stuck in situations and there's a lot of moving parts with working with people, but like what made you be like, I'm going to Slatington? Were you like driving through? And like,
no, I had been kicking around the idea of getting out of Allentown and leaving Keystone and kind of just like see the lease
because you were there for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I think I put 7 years in after I came back from Easton. And I got comfortable with the idea that just breaking away. One night I'm up thinking about it, can't sleep kind of thing. And I'm just like, well, I'll flip on Craigslist here and see if there's anything.
It's so funny that like
boom,
it's that easy.
It was that easy. It was the only
it's not
first place
easy.
I saw.
Yeah, but it's not easy to do it. It's not easy to talk yourself into change. It's not easy to force yourself to leave something super comfortable on not just tattoo shops, but I've seen it in kitchens and anywhere I worked, and I've done it myself where you get comfortable and you're just hoping for change and you're just, and then, but it's like when you got 5 or 6 people that are all trying to go and do the same thing, it's not easy to get everybody on board.
No.
So it's like when you actually be like, and it's funny because you have a moment where you're like, I'm leaving and I'm just going to do my own thing. And then when you actually put a little, like literally a minuscule of energy into your own project, it's funny how just it rockets. Sure. And then you're like, oh, I can do that. And then you realize that you can now put all the energy you had spending trying to get a bunch of other people to do stuff into yourself, and then there's no one else making decisions, so then it's just making clear decisions easier, and then there's no roadblocks. And any roadblock you get isn't hard because you went through a million roadblocks this entire time working with other people. I push it all the time. I push people doing their own thing all the time.
They should.
It's scary.
It is, but it's sucks sitting there doing something that you don't want to do.
Yeah. You know? I mean, even when I left to do this, and I say it a lot of times, it was so hard to take that jump. But like now that I'm in here and doing it, like I'm forced to I'm forced to do my job, which I never had a problem doing my job. I always had work ethic and could get stuff done. Yeah. But it's like, to take the jump, it was never the right time. No. I look at it now and I'm like, man, you probably could have done this like 5 years ago.
Sure. Yeah. Or waited 5 more years.
Yeah.
So.
But it's when you're in that comfort and you're in that that area of just being complacent, and then you just start getting miserable, and it's just it sucks, but it's crazy that it just comes from like, what sort of rent?
Yeah, it was the only place I looked at. I went over there, I was like, and I thought it was funny that it was in Slatington because it doesn't have a great history, especially with tattoo shops. You know what I mean? There hasn't been too many notable, shops that's gone through there since '82.
Yeah.
And whatever, it just worked out. I got a kick out of it. I was like, I'll go.
So when you saw the place, did it need a lot of work, or did it have like did it have like vintage vibes to it at all,
No.
So it was just a thud,
just a grimy little spot with grease all over the walls. They had some.
What was it before?
They were slanging hot dogs and like ice cream sandwiches. They had they put in some exhaust fan in there because that was their solution to trying their hand at like having a fish fry going on or whatever. It was bad. It was the whole thing was covered in grease.
Did it stink?
It wasn't good. Floor was hammered. Everything was absolutely like, if you want to take this space and do something with it, go ahead.
Oh my God. All right. Did you know immediately that was the spot?
Yeah.
I'm sure because of how you are as an artist and a tattoo artist, you visualize a lot of stuff. Yeah, so I'm sure it's the same process of like, you have to come up with an idea for a client for a tattoo. So I'm sure like that's, it's crazy because I've always wanted to do that, but I couldn't ever draw or anything. But then I learned doing that through like creating T-shirts and working and even tattooing, like just even like the tattoos we've done together, like just throwing ideas at each other. Like I love that.
Yeah.
So like learning how to walk into a room and just immediately know what you're going to do is that kind of what it was when you walked in, where it's like you didn't see the stains on the wall. You're like, all right, well, we're going to paint. I can fix this. I can fix that.
Right. And then all that time I would spend with my old man plastering and doing this and doing that. That's when that all kind of like went to work. So I'd go and tattoo in Allentown during the afternoon, and I'd cut it off around 5 o'clock or whatever, roll out there and start working on the space. I did that for about...
Did you take it right away?
Yeah.
Were they surprised?
I think so. He had a few people like,
Does the guy own multiple stuff, or is it just one guy?
I don't know.
He owns a town,
elsewhere, but he only owns that one spot.
A lawless town.
He owns my shop, and they got apartments upstairs.
Yeah.
But I got lucky with even the people down at the borough office were telling me that my landlord was like the one to have if you're going to have one downtown.
Yeah. So all it was is you
worked
Googled.
Out. Yeah, I know. Real quick, just like, oh, what's that? I'll go look, and that was it.
How long did it take for you to get up and running?
Took me about 3 months.
Were you taking your time with it, or were you kind of in a hurry to get out?
I wasn't in a real rush. I tried to time it well. The lease, my obligation to the lease down at Keystone was coming up. So I just stayed there through the duration of that. I think I even like stayed on a little bit after that, but it took me probably like 3 months to get myself in there. And then it just was going to evolve. So it just needed to be a functional space. And then from there, I knew it was, that's what I do with my stuff anyway, is I'll just add to it, rotate it, whatever. Like, so I wasn't real worried about it being like a completed project. It just needed to be like structurally sound. And
yeah, because at this point you're an established tattoo artist.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't need the shop to look a specific way before like a grand opening. You just wanted to get in there, you know, start getting your mental cleared out, start working on projects, get tattoos going. And what was it like getting in there and doing that? You know, what was day one like?
It was nice. Yeah, it was a free
Was it different
feeling.
for you? Because have you always worked in shops with multiple people? Is this your first time alone?
Yeah, it was my first time. It was my first time alone, but I didn't start out there completely by myself. One of the guys that we had working for us at Keystone, he was splitting time between my space and Keystone. So he was flip-flopping back and forth. So I'd have somebody there a couple days a week. You know what I mean?
That's nice, though, to not be there completely alone and have other stuff going on.
Yeah. But then when you are there alone, that's a nice little break, too.
Yeah.
You know. So
I spend a lot of time down here alone.
Yeah. We probably do the same. I probably do the same stuff in my space that you do here. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, when I love buying art. I have to cut myself off at times, but you know, like there's projects I'm working on. Like I'm gonna work on the kitchen area with Stacy, and like I want to do it like Pee-wee's Playhouse and do like some, you know what I mean? Like pop it like super crazy. Like I want to do like the vinyl, like I don't even know what it's called, or like you put the fabric, but then it's like pinned in the middle.
Okay.
So it kind of like comes out like a cushion almost, and like I want to do the doors like that, and just you know, there's a couple pieces. What's funny is when I finally finish this place, we're gonna upgrade, which is what always happens.
Yeah. But at least you'll have a model for like
yeah. I'm like, I mean, it's all trial and error. I mean, like the table, you know, like that's gonna change when we get into the new spot. It's like these control arms. It's like, you know, I modeled this after a different look from just different podcasts, but then when you get into it, it's like, this is terrible for camera angles.
Right.
So it's like, all right, well, this looks cool, but it's for radio.
Right.
So like, this is the only place. So I can't have 4 people at this thing because, you know, the camera angles. Right. But I mean, I don't, even if this worked fine, I would change it anyways, just because I constantly like, are you like that with moving art around and just picking up new pieces? And I like that it's finished, so I don't have to buy a lot of art, and then I look for specifics.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm looking for all tiki stuff for the bar, so it's like I'm going to redo that area. And I don't know. I love finding art and go and do that. You do a lot of that?
I do. I hit that little dirt mall up.
Yeah. They got cool stuff. I mean, I found like there's a guy who's got a little thing in the back, and he had like a boom box. And then like what's crazy is when you start digging past the stuff out front, and then that's when you find like the stuff like that little. There's a little suitcase in the lobby.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was like $9. Yeah,
it's a good suitcase.
Yeah,
just parked underneath that little.
Yeah, and then I found there's 4 suitcases in total. The orange one is like super late 70s, and it's in primo condition. You open it up, it's got like plaid compartments and like things. But I love doing that. Have you ever eaten there?
No.
I did.
No.
I did. I was in hopes that
it'd be a hidden gem.
Yeah. And that's how I get because I'm like that with hot dogs.
Yeah.
And I like I like a good gas station dog. You find somebody who like is probably eating that for lunch, and they give a shit about what's going on the roller. So I went there, and it's a cool setup because they got like the little bar, and I'm like, yo, this is dope. And then the lady microwaved it.
Yeah, not so good. Have you tried that place down the road in Sleatington called Doggy Style?
I did. We went by that because we went from there. We left there, and then we were going to Quakertown. So it was like a 55-minute drive, but I don't care. It was nice out.
Sure.
Quakertown's got like 6 spots that are like all in 5 miles where you can just pop over to each other. And we were driving by there, but I don't think they were open. But have you had Doggy Style?
I have. The dog's
What are your thoughts on it?
it's a little big for me.
Yes, because I think it's like a butcher dog.
Yeah.
It's not a traditional hot dog. No. I think they get it. Like, it's good, but I don't like a giant. I don't like a jumbo dog.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I also don't like a gimmick dog. I don't need you to put French fries and Fritos all over it.
No. And, jalapenos and all.
Yeah, because they also have sausage there, I believe.
They probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just get the chili cheeseburger and call it good.
Oh, see, so they have burgers there as well.
They got a good, sloppy, greasy chili cheeseburger.
Yeah, but that's like that area that you're in, you can find little hidden gems of food in there.
Yeah, it's just a bummer that up there at the marketplace.
Dude, I was starving.
Yeah.
And then she microwaved the chili, microwaved the hot dog, then microwaved the whole thing to melt the cheese.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes when you would like reheat a burger or something and the bun's too hot and it's like almost like you touch it and it just deflates.
Yep.
It was like that. And then like I took a bite, it was way too hot, and then like it was awful.
It wasn't what you wanted.
No, I rated it on my Insta story and I gave it I think I gave it a 0.
Yeah.
Like it is the worst hot dog I've ever had. And I've had some shitty hot dogs because I'll take risks.
Sure.
I'll get into a jumbo hot dog at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, man.
What do you hit for lunch down there? Do you do that?
I usually don't eat lunch down there.
You don't?
No. I for the majority of my life I've been in like a eat once a day kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that's usually when I get home.
Is that from just tattooing and being too busy to stop, or
maybe? I don't know. I guess they call it intermittent fasting.
Yeah, well, now it's like a thing.
Sure.
But I used to just do that at work where I would just eat lunch and that's it. And then we'd go out to the bar afterwards. And then it was the skinniest I ever was.
Yeah, it's got its rewards. That just seems to be like my get down, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you get into something like that and you just do it. I did it for years. When I worked at Martin Guitar. It's like I just ate lunch. That was it. And then I wouldn't really eat dinner. It was just. And then once you get into doing it, you can literally just keep doing it.
Right.
What else have you been doing now that you got the shop going?
That's it. Doing that, staying home as much as I can with the wife and the baby.
Yeah, you have a newborn?
I guess, well, not she ain't a newborn now. She's going to be 3 in July. So,
yeah. What's that like?
It's good. Yeah.
You like being a dad?
Yeah, I do.
What do you have, a boy and a girl?
I do. I have a son.
Lucky.
Who's going to be 13.
Yeah.
And, my daughter's 2.5.
What's it like having a 13-year-old? I know a little bit from being around him.
Yeah, it's cool. Sometimes you get those little moments where you realize, like, they're not your little buddy anymore, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to give them the respect that a 13-year-old.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird when I go on vacation with his family every year. That's kind of how I started being around his kids so much. And then I know that there's going to come a time when they're going to be too cool.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be way too cool for anything.
All of it.
Like we got a good jump on him. Like he probably doesn't have any other uncles doing podcasts or anything.
Right.
And he's going to have his dad's recording studio. But there's definitely going to be a time when I go over there and they're just like, what are you doing, loser?
That's the natural order of it. And that's okay.
What's your son into?
Video games.
Yeah.
Basketball, soccer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Were you big into sports?
No.
So is that a hard transition to kind of teach or coach him or go to the games?
No, his stepfather is actually his soccer coach and his basketball coach.
Oh, that helps.
And he's great.
Yeah.
At it. So it really just works all around.
Yeah.
So I just get to watch him do his thing.
Does he realize that you're a tattoo artist?
Yeah,
and,
he
understand
does.
that?
I think I don't think he really cares about it too much.
So funny.
You know what I mean? He doesn't.
That's so funny.
People ask if he's got like aspirations to get tattooed.
Yeah.
I think he could care less.
Yeah. But that's usually what it is when you're like around your parents. Like you don't think any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's what they're doing is cool.
Right.
Like how he views the studio. And I don't know how he really looks at it because I think he's getting a little bit older and understanding what's in there. But like it's a full-blown studio.
Right.
Man. You been doing any art projects or anything?
None. Tattoos is like
just slammed?
That's it.
How long did it take a while for the customers to come over?
Yeah, the locals were real wary to begin with. They're like,
who's this guy?
Right, yeah. Oh, here we go again kind of thing.
Yeah.
So after we had like passed a year mark, then
they started trusting and coming in and we're like, oh, this is like a legitimate.
You're still here. So
I'm sure there's been a ton of people that just went in and were like, we're tattoo artists. And then like in a month they were out.
Yeah.
How hard was it for your clients to go over?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
It's a 25-minute ride from Allentown. You know what I mean? But I feel like, I don't know. The older we get, I feel like people don't trip out too much about that.
No, and it's not like you move too far. And if they're into their artist, I used to just go, I go, when the Scranton one, like that's an hour from here, but I'll go every year to go up there and get tattooed by somebody Keith Scott up there, and then, did you get heavy into conventions?
No.
So you only did what, Scranton,
Skin Industry. I had done the Am Jam in Syracuse, New York, and I went out to Idaho. I can't remember the name of the convention though. I went out and did that a couple years ago, right before my daughter was born. I went out there.
Do you like doing conventions?
Not so much anymore. I did. I thought like it was neat or whatever, but I'm not above it or better than any of it. It doesn't do anything for me so much. So I'd rather just kind of be in my spot.
I love doing them, and then after, I don't know, probably 5-6 years of doing it, I was just kind of over the production of just like hauling all the stuff, and then I was slinging T-shirts, so if nobody was buying T-shirts, I was just sitting in a booth.
Yep.
And then it's like, then you start counting up all the money you're spending on drinks and food, and especially when I went to the casino, like that was a massive,
$42 pretzels and all that.
Yeah. That went from like, hey, I can go over to Taco Bell, in the original spot. But I mean, I was just kind of like, now it's like I'll attend them.
Right.
And like I'll go up for a day and like get tattooed or just kind of see Steve when he comes through. But I don't know. And like I said, same thing. It's not that I think I'm above him or whatnot. I just did. I did a Comic-Con, or not a Comic-Con. I did a Walker Stalker convention with a friend, and like we kind of like had booths next to each other, and that was a total different experience because that was the first time I ever did something outside of a tattoo convention, and it was for a specific thing.
All right.
So like I thought I'd be able to sell apparel, and then when I got there, I realized it was just people who are there to take pictures and get autographs. And then there was also the only apparel they wanted was literally for The Walking Dead. Like there was I just thought it was kind of like a concept, and then like people would go to it, but I didn't realize like how crazy people were over a television show.
Pretty specific.
Yeah, dude, it was nuts. And like everyone else, I was the only one selling like clothing. Everyone else was like an apparel line.
Right.
Everyone else was just taking pictures and then ripping it off and then like selling like a guy from The Walking Dead, Daryl's face on a T-shirt,
like with a heat transfer on.
Yeah, but they were like making thousands of dollars, and I'm just like, hey, I'm over here.
Right.
But I don't know. I like the idea of conventions. Like I liked when I got tattooed by you, and like you run into friends, and like day one's always awesome, but by Sunday I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, it's beat by Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like then you kind of hang out, and you're like, I don't know if anyone's gonna still come through, and I don't know.
It's an energy sucker, man.
It really is, especially if you're not busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't party, it just turns into a lot of noise after a while.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember, the first year we drank a lot at it because Steve gave us like a back room. Okay. And like we were doing podcasts in the back dressing room area. Yeah. So like that was cool, but like I wasn't selling anything. We were just once again spending a ton of money on beer.
Right.
And then I don't know. I just kind of got over it and stopped doing them.
And doing other things.
Yeah.
That's all. Maybe I'll do some again. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Either way.
Do you sell art at all or do commission pieces for people?
Not often.
Yeah.
No, not often. in the last couple of years, I've been trying to scale back how much I'm giving down that avenue, or however. I'm probably not putting that the best way, but I'm trying to devote more time to my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's important.
Yeah. And the art gets taken care of. My little itch to make art gets taken care of when I work. So I don't, once in a while I'll make something for myself or somebody else or whatever, but very rarely.
I want to hang out here a little bit. When did you start realizing that you even wanted to start focusing more or like moving? Because when you start doing something long enough, like how I'm starting to kind of, this is the second year of doing this. So now I'm like kind of being like, wait a minute, I have a lot more control. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm doing this for a living, there's a lot of things that are fulfilled, so I don't have to keep trying to tackle.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense now that you put it that way, because it's like I do this now. Like, I'm doing this today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Right. So it's like by the time I'm done doing that, like I don't want to interview anyone. I don't want to do anything with anything. When I was only doing this part-time, it was almost like I was a junkie going after this because I couldn't have it. Right. But now that I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, well, wait a minute, like, how much is too much? And then, like, you know, I just started recently hanging out with a gal. So like now I'm like leveling that out, where I'm like, oh man, like, you need to be 2 steps ahead of that, or that's going to be an argument. Right. And then it's like, you know what I mean? But it's weird when you start moving stuff around. Is that how it was for you? Or like, what kind of made you start being like, all right, man, like, I can get my fill on this, but like, my family is super important?
Nothing that stands out so much as when you start realizing that I'm really only home to sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you start looking at, well, why am I only home to sleep? Well, because at first you think, well, because I'm working all the time. And that's true. But you're giving a lot of your time away drawing something for somebody because they stroked your ego and, oh, hey, it'd be cool if you made me this. That's nice and all that. But now I just took all that, however many hours that took, away from home. Then you're like, I'm seeing my kids and my lady, like, in passing and stuff like that.
It's like, weird when that like start happening. And it's almost like you see it go by.
Sure.
And it's like, it's little moments of like 1.5 seconds of like, oof. And then you think, and then it's not even like, well, when it's happened to me, it's like, it's just emotion where you see it and it's almost third person. Yeah. And then you go back, but you stop thinking about the fact that you saw it go by.
Right. Yeah. Cause you're just getting right back to what you were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cause you're consumed.
Yeah. That's why the lockdown thing was fantastic. I had never in my life like spent time at home like that. And I was happy about it. You know what I mean? So that helped like, push me to change my schedule around. And you know, Joel,
how do you do it now?
I'm loving it over there.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Joel, our friend Joel.
Yeah.
He would always tell me, like, don't forget, like, you drive this car. You know what I mean? You set the rules for
it's important.
It is you're doing.
It's important, especially when you got people pulling at you in different directions.
And it's like, not that they're bad for that.
No, not at all.
It's great.
Yeah.
You know, but at some point, I just had to like, okay, I got to like organize all this stuff. I got a lot of stuff going on, but none of it's in order. I'm just hitting it like head down, hard charge into the day.
And the older you get, the more that I used to tell people all the time, like, if I would say it out loud, I knew I would do it. And then I started paying attention as to how I did it. Yeah. And then like when it was probably like my late 30s, I started realizing that putting my head down and going through a wall, all I was doing was I would get to the other side, but then I couldn't do anything because I'm picking up the mess of the wall.
Right.
And then I'm like, cool. Like now I just wasted half the year cleaning up this mess. And then now as soon as it's cleaned up, now I got to play catch up. And then if you're missing time out with your family or a girlfriend and all that, it starts to get some really murky waters.
Yeah.
And then you start getting confused.
Yeah. And it just makes things
awful.
less than ideal.
It's awful. What was it like for you to be able to kind of control all that and then start getting like, you know, into a rhythm where you're spending more time with your family? How did that feel?
It felt nice, you know.
It's not easy to kind of pivot and do that. Not a lot of people do.
It's something that you got to, and even still, like I don't have that mastered or, you know,
it's constant work.
Yeah. It's something you have to, just like anything else, you got to feed it.
Yeah.
Work on it, you know. But it's nice. It's nice. Kids, the birth of both of my children had me like dwelling on like my own mortality.
Yeah.
How much time you have left, all that kind of thing, you know. So I'll trip out about time a lot. And I'm trying to think about like making the best use of that.
You know what trips me out on time is I'll think about scenarios where I was his age and I was with my dad. Yeah. And then now in that scenario, I'm as old as my dad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so my dad and myself at his age, and then now I'm my dad's age.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, well, my dad's way older than what he was then.
Right.
How much time does he have left? And then I'm like, dude, you're like halfway now.
Right.
And it literally is just like that.
Yeah.
That's what trips me out sometimes. Like I went and talked to a friend of mine. My parents are friends with his parents. They grew up together. And then he owns Rita's. And then I went over there and I was bullshitting with him. And I remember when my dad would run into his dad and they would be bullshitting.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize that like when my dad was in his 40s, that like, you know, you just look at scenarios and you're like, oh, he just knows that guy. And then it's like, well, that's his friend, but his life's too busy and they just see each other when they run into each other.
Right.
And then that tripped me out. Yeah, it's okay. But it definitely like started tripping me out as far as like thinking about like, man, like my parents are now my grandparents' age.
Right.
And now I'm my parents' age.
Yeah.
And I remember when they used to take me over to my grandmother's. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that what fucks you up with time?
A little bit. I just want to make sure that I, obviously I'm not going to do it perfectly. Nobody is going to do it perfectly. The whole dance of it. Right.
Yeah.
But just trying to, hey, if they can say like, well, he did always try. Then that's good enough. You know what I mean? That's good enough. But yeah, the thing with the time though, right? Like, and you're seeing that you're where they were. And we're getting closer to that or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we never knew how much time we were gonna have anyway.
Yeah.
So really, nothing.
I didn't think I'd make it to 40.
Different. No. And there you are.
I used to always say in my 20s, I'd be like, maybe 30, 32, 33.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It got wild for a while.
Right.
And then it's like, you know, I didn't think I'd ever like just stop drinking for 10 years.
Right.
And then like, I didn't think I would get back into drinking.
Right.
Like, but it's like, there's just these things that kind of just, and it always just seems like it doesn't matter. You're just making decisions and everything's moving.
Right. Right. You're riding the wave no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's weird
try
getting
and set
old.
hard, fast rules for yourself. But,
Yeah.
You know, you're probably going to end up going away from that at some point.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. And that's why I try to tell younger people. I ran into this kid who was doing like a photography project, and he was like asking me for advice and stuff. And I'm like, just work at something and don't stop.
Yeah.
It's literally like, it's stupid that all the cliche things that people tell you
Yeah.
is the answers to those things, and you can't. You can take the advice and you're never going to listen to it. But like, I look back on it and I'm like, man, this really was just from not stopping.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how you were in the tattoo industry, which is kind of like you got into it, you loved it, and didn't stop doing it, and kind of grew to the point where you got your own thing going on now?
Yeah. Yeah. It was just kind of like a natural evolution of things, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It still is every...
And it's weird because it's a fight, and there's things that you go through, and there's years that suck, and your friends die, and there's all kinds of different chaos.
Yep.
But really, you're just moving in that general direction because you chose it.
Yeah. 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 You know? So you can just stay the course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Every now and then get a hot dog.
Right. Yeah. But not from the dirt mall.
Not at all. What do you got planned on coming down the pipe, like for the year and whatnot?
More of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tattooing. I'm going to get to the beach in the summer and just try to
You like
have
going to
that
the
balance.
beach?
I do.
What do you guys like to do at the beach?
Hang out, relax.
Yeah.
I don't like to get into any of the I don't want to go to a nightclub. I don't want to go to a hot spot or any of that. I want to just kind of do nothing while I'm there, but maybe at the beach.
His dad introduced me to that style of going to the beach. I was never a beach person because I didn't understand what it was to go to the beach.
Yeah.
And when I used to go on family vacations, my mom, not that there's anything wrong with it, but my mom would always have a regiment. This is what we're going to go to the beach, but then we're doing this. And it was never just like a relaxing experience. It was just kind of go, 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 go.
Sure.
And then when we started going, he brought me down. I ended up getting extremely sunburned because I didn't realize that we were there for the day.
Okay.
So like we went down and we're there, and like the guys going to the beach, and then like his mom and I think it was Mitch's wife maybe, they were like, hey Mike, you're cooking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you didn't bring an umbrella? And I was like, well, why would I bring an umbrella? And they're like, well, we're not going back to the house.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh. And then they were like, we have an extra one. And then they were like, do you have a beach towel to like lay out? And I was like, nope. And they're like, well, what about your chair? And I'm like, nope. And then then like lunch came and they're like, hey, you know, did you make anything? And I was like, no. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But then I remember the moment that I was all set up and we were sitting there, and I mean, my mind's a mile a minute, and you know, I was probably cooking at the time, and it was like super high stress, and then we just sat there, and like we were having a couple beers, and it was probably like after hour 2.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything except for a decompression where my mind went, boom. And then I was like, And I remember looking over to him and I go, this is what you do this for. And he's like, yeah. He's like, we do this every day. And like I go out into the water with him and he does what's the skim boards? Yeah, boogie boards we do, and then he does the other thing where like you put it down there and jump on it.
Yeah,
I tried it once and like blew my back out.
Yeah.
Like it didn't because he made it look easy.
Sure.
He's just like wee.
Yep.
And then I was like, I can do that, and I jumped on it and it just went into the sand and like I just jacked my back.
Yep.
But now when we go, I have my own umbrella, I have my own beach towel, I have the chair that's got the cooler on the back.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do, and I don't do anything else. On vacation now, we go to the Outer Banks, and then it's just like there's no one on the beach usually, and we just kind of just sit there and relax. How did you start getting into doing that?
We went to the beach a lot when I was a little kid.
Oh, because you grew up
in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're lucky, man.
That's what they say. But when you're growing up out there, it's just where you're growing up.
Yeah, yeah. You know? I never got into that. I mean, I am into it now, but it's just like we don't. It's when I think of vacation now, it's like. Yeah. We just look at like, all right, how long are we going to go? How long, now it's like we should do 2 weeks.
Right.
Have a crazy week where you invite people down and then the second week. And I don't know. I really like going. Where do you guys usually go?
We've been going to, was it Long Beach Island?
Yeah.
Lately, the last few years or whatever. We haven't been down the last probably 3 years though.
Because of the kids or?
Just I work all the time.
Yeah.
I've always, over the years, I've been trying to get better at it. But for a long time, going on vacation to me just meant going in the red. So I was like, well, if I'm going on vacation, I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
I'm just spending money that I'm not making. So
that was the new lesson learned with working for yourself where I'm not getting paid to go. I mean, I usually worked under the table, so I got screwed and I could barely go every year, but it was more for mental health.
Sure.
And like I'm going. I don't care.
Yeah.
But now that things are different, it's like I'm having to work while we're down there. And by work, I mean like I'll answer emails for like Axelrad stuff and put an hour aside, but it's like I don't want to do that, but I can't fall behind.
Right.
And like what you said, it's like you're not making money.
No.
Yeah.
So that was always tough for me to be like, get there and then you want me to relax on top.
And you can't relax. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll be like, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna hang out, and then your phone's blowing up the whole time.
Yeah.
Hey man, where you at?
Yeah,
Can I get tattooed?
Turn it off.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know what I started doing? This has also become beneficial, and then I didn't realize how much of a disconnect it was going on vacation. Is I would leave my phone at the house.
Yeah.
And then, like that's weird to get. It's the same thing as sitting at the beach. It's like a weird waiting period until you're like okay with not being completely connected to your phone.
Yeah. Which is weird because you grew up not being connected to
No, not at all. He's growing up. Well, I mean, he doesn't say he has times and he's allowed, I would say out of most of my friends' kids, he's growing up more like how we grew up.
Okay.
Where, like, cause we would only be allowed to stay on the games for a little bit, but then we weren't allowed to, you couldn't save games.
No.
There wasn't going online. It was totally different, but then we would go into the woods and just play the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. That was fun growing up then.
Yeah, I had a good time growing up.
Did you get into games growing up?
A little bit, yeah. Skate or Die on Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was such a big deal to play that game when the guy came up with the mohawk.
Yeah, Rodney.
yeah.
That was
a big deal.
Yeah,
that was when you didn't even know there was no preview of the game.
No.
You had to go by the graphics on the front and then the back.
Which were definitely not
never
the same.
never the same.
No.
They would like sell it as a movie and I'd get home and it's like this just like like smashed version of E.T. or like Atari back in the day.
Yeah, E.T. Yeah, Skate or Die and Excite Bike. I played a lot.
Yeah, Excite Bike we played a lot too, and then Road Rash for Genesis. I got into that.
Yeah, I had a Genesis. I think I had some MIDI. It was like some sort of like Viking era of football. It was football game, but these guys were like Vikings or whatever.
And then the whole process of going to rent games, there was always the Friday nights I would go with my buddy Tim, who I still talk to, and we still play games, except for now we're doing it online. But like we used to go rent games. Like that was such a big deal when the game was in and you could get it.
And
now
you could
it's
rent the system. You remember?
Yes, my parents did that.
Yeah.
I had to stay up for a sleep test because we were going to do something, and I ended up falling asleep. Right. And then like it was just a totally waste of money because it was not cheap cheap to rent it.
No.
But they also didn't really have any games.
Nope.
I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna rent this, and then they're like, here's what came with it, and I was like, oh, it's just Sonic.
I played a lot of that. No, we would just be outside a lot. We'd go to the beach. Beach was like, you were probably going down there 2 or 3 times a month.
Yeah.
Just for the day or whatever. You know what I mean? So that was nice.
Yeah. When I was in Virginia, we used to go to the river a lot.
Yeah.
Because the beach was like an hour away.
Right.
But it was like a lot of people would go down to the river, and then it was like, just a whole different. It's weird just going different places and seeing people grow up totally different, but it's how they grew up.
Yeah. Like when I was young, we'd go to the beach or we'd go to a park or whatever. And then halfway through high school, we moved up to Washington State. And in Washington State, they'd go to the lake or they'd go to the river.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I kind of want to start wrapping up just because you got to ride home and whatnot. What do you got? I want to give you an opportunity. First off, I want to just thank you for coming on. I loved getting tattooed by you, how I got to meet you through the avenues that I have, and then the friendship we built over the years. I always hated that I didn't get to see you enough. So
Likewise.
I wanted to come back and I wanted to catch up on here, and I want to do it every couple of months, or I want to come down to the shop as well. I know Ray did a thing down there.
Yeah, he had an art show.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that you even did something like that. But I've always been a fan of your art. You still have, I think, my favorite tattoo to share with people is we did the Rocky Dennis tattoo.
Yeah.
Because that whole thing was a story in itself, but you posted that, correct? And you were like, and it was just Flash you were drawing up?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like so nervous, and I'm like, yo, I want that. I'll give you a deposit right now. And you're like, yo, dude, no one's hitting me up for this.
Yeah, just take it.
But just that whole experience of getting tattooed down there. And what's funny is when I was getting tattooed, I forget what tattoo it was, and it might have been the Rocky Dennis. I was reading over the lease paperwork for here.
Okay.
Do you remember when I came down? Because you were still at Keystone, or we're still doing Keystone over there. But I remember I was like reading over the lease while I was getting tattooed.
That had to be that tattoo.
Yeah,
then.
and we weren't even in this spot at that time. It was only audio. We weren't doing video.
Yeah.
But I always just appreciated who you were as a person. I love your artwork. I still love everything you do. I think it's awesome. How much you've grown, and I just this is one of my favorite podcasts because it's so different than most of the podcasts I've done. And I just want to thank you for coming on. I want to give you an opportunity to plug any social media or the shop or however you're running anything or any projects you got coming up.
All right. Well, first, thank you for having me.
Of course,
and
man.
I appreciate
of course.
you as well. So
thank you,
what
man.
you said to me is likewise.
I appreciate that.
As far as plugging anything, I don't know. My Instagram is at VinceThomas78, and the shop is at Freedom Tattoo 610, and then everyone already knows what to do with it. So just
cool.
Do that.
Tucker, thank you so much. You hit a home run. You are more than welcome to come down here and do this anytime. You are too young to understand, but you have taken a massive weight off my shoulder. When I have to do this over there, I have to do a million things plus interview. When I can just interview, it makes the show 10 times better. So thank you for who you are. I think it's awesome that you ride bike and everything cool that you do. I'm sure later in life you'll hate me, but I'll make it up to you when I buy you alcohol when you're 17.
There it is.
Anyone who's listening to the show for the first time, it's neveragainstudio.com. You can subscribe to the YouTube. You can follow. I think if you go on iTunes and do Never Again Studio, you can follow that, and then it automatically updates. Check out all the sponsors. I just don't let anybody come on as a sponsor. They're picked out. I work relationships with these people, and we actually grow their businesses. So please check out all the sponsors and everything we're doing. It's neveragainstudio.com. Thank you so much. And I think this is the most professional I've ever closed the show without ruining it.
Fantastic.
That's it. Good day.
All right.